Dan Dickow here for the WCC Weekly on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network. Over the last few weeks, each Monday, I've been taking a look at a program in the WCC not named Gonzaga, giving you a little bit of an insight into what to expect from them in the upcoming season, some of the returning pieces, some of the newcomers to keep an eye out for, as well as a little bit of a breakdown of their non-conference and conference schedules. Today, we're going to talk about the Broncos of Santa Clara. They may have the two biggest shoes to fill. Now USF's got to fill the shoes of Jamari Bouye. Gonzaga's got to fill the shoes of Chet Holmgren, obviously. But a duo having to be replaced down in the South Bay of Jalen Williams, who's a first-round draft pick of the Oklahoma City Thunder, as well as Josip Vrankic, is going to have to be figured out by Herb Sendek. Herb Sendek, one of the best coaches in the country, has taken a team from each of his stops as a head coach to the NCAA tournament, and he was on the cusp a season ago of getting Santa Clara to the NCAA tournament, which would have been quite a feat when you think about it, because they were 21-12 on the year, 10-5 in the league. They got absolutely blitzed early in the conference play by Gonzaga by close to 40-45 points at home. But then they just kept grinding it out and getting better throughout the whole entire season. The thing that you look at that really hurt them a season ago was they had some untimely injuries, in particular to Josip Vrankic, as well as another untimely COVID pause or two, not necessarily in their program, but also just overall, where a game had to be delayed or two games were delayed and played at a later time. But they were playing really good basketball at the end of the season. They came on strong. When you looked at their analytics, as far as KenPom, when you looked at their net rankings at the end of the year, a lot of people were kind of quietly keeping hope that there would be 4 WCC teams a season ago, saying it was BYU. Well, if you looked at the end of season analytics, Santa Clara's analytics matched up the profile of an NCAA tournament team better than BYU did. So, they were right there. Obviously, they've got two huge pieces that they've got to replace in Jalen Williams and Josip Vrankic. But again, Herb Sendek, one of the best in the country as far as building programs and building them to be sustainable. He did it at Miami of Ohio, did it at North Carolina State, Arizona State, maybe had some ups and downs, but he also had some darn good teams. James Harden teams got them to the NCAA tournament as well. A couple areas where they were really good last year. When you think about good offensive teams in the WCC, you always think of Gonzaga, rightfully so, one of the best offenses over the last 10, 12 years. You also think about St. Mary's, but Santa Clara was really good last year, 48% from the field. So they put a lot of pressure on you. They could score in different ways. Vrankic as a creative low post scorer, as well as from the elbow. And then Jalen Williams was great in transition. He was really good in pick and rolls, creating for himself and for others. Defensively, they were fine. Forced teams about 43% from the field. So that was a good combination for them. But really, they got to get better on the road. A season ago, 5-6 on the road. If they're going to make a jump as a program, it's got to be finding out ways to scratch out wins on the road. But a lot of that comes with, lots of programs struggle with that during COVID and the year out of COVID, where it was almost normal a season ago. This year should be fully back to normal in college basketball. The other advantage that they have is they took an overseas trip to Spain in, I believe it was in August, middle of August. And so that was a chance for their Coach Sendek and the staff to kind of get some early practices under their belt, get some games under their belt, build some camaraderie, build some chemistry, and kind of, start to put some early thoughts together of what rotation is going to look like. So again, big losses, Jalen Williams and Vrankic, but the key players this year, you're looking at the returners that I think are going to be, impactful, or they need to be impactful if Santa Clara is going to have a good season. Keyshawn Justice, he seems like he's been there forever, but he's a wing who's got great size. He's versatile. He can guard pretty much 2 through 4. He's good on the glass. He's reliable on the offensive end as far as he doesn't really turn it over. He's a good enough shooter to keep you honest. He can score on the low block a little bit. He can handle a little bit. They're gonna need a big productive year from him. Jordan Williams, quick guard. That I'd like to see more from this year. Looks as if he's got the ability to shoot it, but he's got to become a reliable scoring and shooting threat. Um, that's one of the things where, all good teams, whether you're the WCC or in another league, you've got to be able to put threats to score out on the floor. You can't be allowing your opponent to guard 4-on-5. It just doesn't work that way. So Jordan Williams, I think that's going to be a key for him, is becoming a reliable scoring threat. Parker Braun, 6'10-ish, big, little on the slender side, but he's shown flashes. Started his career in at Missouri. He's got the ability to rebound. He's got the ability, I think, to screen and dive because he's got good hands. And then I would think he's got the ability to contest shots around the rim. That paired up with Jaden Bediako as an interior presence. And then there's 2 freshmen from Germany, I think, that have a chance to kind of provide some more of that inside muscle. Now, it's always hard to gauge what you're going to get out of a freshman, but 7-footer Christopher Tilley and then 6'9" Jacob Ensminger are 2 freshmen from Germany who could provide a little bit of length, a little bit of muscle, and some depth on the interior. The newcomer that I'm probably most looking forward to checking out is Brandon Podziemski. I hope I'm saying that right, but he's interesting in the fact that he went into the transfer portal after being at Illinois a season ago. Didn't get much of a chance to play at Illinois. Sometimes that happens when you go to a high level program out of a high conference. But when you take a step back and you look at kind of his characteristics and his attributes as a player, it makes you think that Santa Clara may have found a gem here in the transfer portal. Big wing at 6'5", can really score it. Now, he didn't show it at Illinois because limited opportunities, but he scored over 2,000 points in high school, where he was all-state and a player of the year in the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin's sneaky as far as producing really high-level, good basketball players over the years. Devin Harris, Wes Matthews in the NBA for a long time, Tyler Hero, obviously with the Miami Heat, is from Wisconsin. But as a senior, he averaged 35 points per game. And you can't really turn off scorers' mentality. And so it makes you kind of think that maybe his mentality just didn't fit at Illinois. They were asking him to be a different type of player and play a different role than he was accustomed to or good at. And so many times when that's the case, you just got to find the right setting. And if Santa Clara is the right setting, it could be dangerous for the league because he's got good size at 6'5". You look at the non-conference for Santa Clara, they open with Eastern Washington at home. They're at Utah State in the Mountain West, who's typically been a really good program. They go to the Bahamas for a 2-game shootout. They're going to play DePaul out of the Big East in the first game, and then the second game will be to be determined. But you want teams out of the WCC to play other teams from great conferences. I think the Mountain West is a good conference, but when you can play against the Pac-12 teams, you can play against Big East, you get a chance to play against Big 10, Big 12 teams. I think that's important to try to schedule. They're going to play Wyoming in Salt Lake City. Wyoming might be the favorite in the Mountain West this year. Made the NCAA tournament a year ago. They've got their leading 2 returning scorers from a season ago back, as well as some really good transfers out of the transfer portal. And then they're going to have a couple good games at home where they play Cal out of the Pac-12 and then Boise State from the Mountain West, who made the NCAA tournament a season ago. So they should be a good team. The WCC, they got a chance to get off on the right foot because their first 2 games in conference are at home. And as I mentioned, they struggled on the road last year. They were 5-6 on the road. And sometimes those kind of things just snowball on you a little bit. So you want to get off to a good start early in conference play. And the fact that they have 2 games at home, could really bode well for Santa Clara. And then you take a look at when they play Gonzaga. They'll play Gonzaga twice. They will host the Zags January 7th, and then they will return the game in Spokane on February the 2nd. So, as mentioned, Herb Sendek, I think, is doing a great job at Santa Clara. They were on the cusp of the NCAA tournament selection committee really having to give it a lot of thought to put them in or not. Honestly, you look at their record last year, 21-12. Say by chance they could have been 23-10, they probably would have been in. And now I know that's a big if, because maybe that took another win away from San Francisco, or maybe that, altered some things with some other schools. But the point being is that if they can scratch out a couple more wins, they're in that conversation, and that's good for the WCC. So thanks for listening. As mentioned, we're taking a deep dive into each of the teams in the WCC, not named Gonzaga. Basketball season's only a couple weeks away. We're deep into October. So thanks for listening. This has been the WCC Weekly on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network.